They do not want your children to be educated. They do not want you to think too much. That is why our country and our world has become so proliferated with entertainments, mass media, game shows, television shows, amusement parks, drugs, alcohol, and every kind of entertainment to keep the human mind entertained.
Well, we've been warned robots might one day take over the world, and now it seems really tiny ones could soon be swimming through our veins. Swiss researchers have created this microbot, less than 2 millimetres in size, that can be injected into the bloodstream, where it can then deliver essential drugs to specific areas of the body quickly. Scientists can control the device from outside the body using magnetic fields, and once it reaches the desired location, it dissolves and releases the medication.
The Fed's plan is to use the spreading of germs and viruses as one excuse, and there's going to be more, but one excuse for the need to eliminate all cash. That's been a goal for decades. Their plan is to make the world a cashless society. No cash, no paper money, no coins. And some people think, good, that makes life a lot easier. I can just use my smartphone and I can just go click, 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 ding, ding, ding. Why should I carry around cash? That sounds like a good thing. Hey, and it's also good because then the drug dealers aren't dealing in cash. This is good. It's going to save crime. Well, that's the argument, and there's a legitimate argument there. But all the cash is going to be converted to a digital currency or digital credits. Ultimately, down the road, the goal is one digital currency used all over the world, just one. And this way, they can control 100% of all money transactions globally and have everything tracked. This way, they have 100% control over you and your entire life. You're giving up your freedom and your privacy. And you may say, no, this is a good thing. It's going to stop crime, drug dealers, and all the cash people and all the... well, we'll see. It sounds good. But every time we give up freedoms for safety and security, how has it worked out? Think of Nazi Germany. They gave up all their freedoms for safety and security. It didn't work out so well. And this happens all over the world. Communism, it happens all over the world. The way the Fed is going to achieve this ultimate goal is to first release what they've been working on for many years. It's called Fed Now. Fed Now is going to be like a cash app on your phone. It's going to be required. You're going to be required to have this cash app on your phone and on your computer. All cash is going to be eliminated ultimately and replaced by this new digital currency that's stored on your Fed Now cash app.
In 1 week, Australia will become the first country in the world to ban under 16s from having social media accounts. With one law, we can protect Generation Alpha from being sucked into purgatory by predatory algorithms described by the man who created the feature as behavioural cocaine. Teenage addiction was not a bug, it was a design feature. And on 10 December, there are going to be withdrawal symptoms. Teenagers will be upset, some will fight to get back on, some will manage to find their way around the tech and keep their accounts. But I truly believe the short-term discomfort will be worth the long-term benefits. This law is world-leading, and countries around the world are taking our lead. Denmark, Greece, Romania, France, New Zealand, Malaysia, the European Commission have all signalled intent to introduce a minimum age for social media. American social psychologist and author of the book The Anxious Generation, Jonathan Haidt, said, Australia's law, our law, is by far the most important single piece of legislation ever enacted on planet Earth to protect children in the internet age.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I want to thank you for tuning in to the baddest show on the planet. the Twisted Younginz Show, guys. We thank you for joining us. Thank you for pressing play today. We please ask that you like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. And in case you didn't know, we are a Christian podcast, and I am glad to be here with you all today. Thankful for the day, thankful to wake up, thankful to be in a warm house with food and water and to be with family. And it's just so much going on. These earthquakes, have you all saw these earthquakes, the bad weather, these laws and policies being passed? But anyway, before we get into all of that, Des, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. I'm thankful to have another day, above ground, as some people say. But, I'm appreciative to be able to still do this show, to be able to point to things that's going on around the world that's not of God, and to, basically, show Christians that, everything is not perfect, but we serve a perfect and just God. And as long as we continue to stay on that path, even though it's difficult, because, we've been tempted by the tempter, but anything is possible through Jesus. So
Amen.
I want to say I'm just thankful for everything I have, and, thankful to have a job and have a roof over my head, floors, clothes on my back, pants, shoes on my feet. Thank you for having food in my refrigerator, food in my freezer, and all my family members are alive and healthy, and I'm thankful for that. I don't look too far in the future. As a Christian, I don't think we should be looking too far into a French Riviera, but we should appreciate and everything that God has given to us right now in this moment. So, yeah, happy to do the show.
Amen. Hey, we're glad to be back. So, guys, we're going to start off with the scripture. And it's going to be Psalms 1, verses 1 through 2. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. So, guys, we just got to stay on that faithful path, stay planted in obedience and in faith. And when the battle gets tough, pray. Get in the word. If you got to, start listening to sermons, speak to someone that is of God as well, to get your mind right. Because as soon, God, once he lift that hedge of protection off, the battle starts. It comes. And we know we need God. We need God to deal with these thorns, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody's perfect, so we just got to stay in the word, and we just got to stay faithful. But without further ado, let's get into some news. So I want to touch on, we didn't get a chance to touch on this last show, but I have been seeing more than a handful of AI artists topping the charts. First, I'm going to start off with AI artist Zania Monet. She lands a $3 million record deal. And people are saying this is a turning point in the industry. Now, she's a fully AI-generated artist, and it's highlighting both the potential and controversy of AI-powered music. And she is not the only one. There's also an AI country artist and an AI Christian artist, which they have both topped the charts these past couple weeks. And there's been a lot of, as you can imagine, there's a lot of controversy around these AI artists topping the charts. There's AI actors, actresses, there's AI influencers, there's an AI family on TikTok. I mean, you probably wouldn't know that they're an AI family, but they've had children, they go out, they go shopping. There's an AI makeup influencer. So I don't know, Des, what is your thoughts on this? Like, Des is a Christian artist. Would you care if there's a Christian artist? AI?
No, because there is a Christian artist. AI. There is AI artists. Because the people that owns the the platforms, the streaming platforms. I think, like, to get control over it, I think that the musicians have to form a union and all come together to ban AI for being on these platforms. Basically, take the power back from the streaming music. The streaming platforms, and let them know, look, we're going to all take our music off of there if you continue to allow these AI artists to be put on your platform. It can happen, but, it just take, conversations amongst artists to be had. And I think Timbaland he had an AI artist or whatever. And I think I do believe that, because I don't believe in like the 50-50 split between producer and artist is fair. So I do feel like, in the future, well, probably sometime soon, that the AI will be better at making beats. And, just like Timberland was trying to erase artists and start to have AI artists. I think most artists is going to use AI beats. Why would I be giving somebody 50% of a song, and you can make about like 10 beats a day? Where it's harder for an artist to create than it is for a producer.
No, I agree with that.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't think they deserve no 50% of no record, man. It's just unfair. And I think that a lot of people are going to start to use AI to create their beats.
Yeah, it's happening all over. The movies, the entertainment. A lot of people are able to save big on the budget using AI. So at first,
I think Tyler Perry was he was finna build some type of studio, and he decided to change his mind because AI was able to create what he was building. Create the effect of what he was looking for in what he was building.
And he's probably saved a ton of millions of dollars doing that too. Yeah, it's like we're shifting into the age of AI. They're revealing all of this AI. And speaking of that, we have Abu Dhabi unveils world's first AI public servant at GIT Global 2025. So Abu Dhabi, Abu Dhabi is unveiling the world's first auto government function with the latest version of TAM today at the GTEX Global 2025. Now, AutoGov automatically manages recurring tasks from license renewals and utility payments to scheduling routine healthcare appointments, running in the background of daily life so that people have more time to do things they love and never have to worry about routine services. Now, this is just one of the many AI servants that has been introduced to government. They're putting AI in churches now, AI in government. We do have an AI prime minister in one of these countries. So it's just starting to get really interesting with the unveiling of this AI. And what can the AI do that a human can't? A human can relate more to the people, I would think. So Tom Brady reveals his dog Junie was cloned from his beloved pet Lua, who died in 2023. So basically, Tom Brady has a clone dog. Now, Tom Brady's dog Junie is a clone of his dog Lua, who died in 2023, he announced. Now, Colossal Biosciences, which Brady is an investor in, cloned the pit bull mixed using a blood sample collected prior to her death. Now, the announcement coincides with Colossal's announcement that it is acquiring Vegan Pets and Equine, which clone Barbara Streisand and Paris Hilton dogs. So they have been cloning animals. And if you ask me, this sounds like some Pet Cemetery type stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. But you see, like, to me, it's like, it reminds me of like, scientists they're trying to play God. They're trying to create, animals, or, that animal died. Tom Brady's animal he had died.
Yeah.
But they're basically saying I can bring that same animal back to life. It's not something like, we don't need to go to God for these things anymore. We can go to man. And that's really what the devil want to do. Like he want to be like the Most High. So everything the Most High do in creating, things, he want to be able to do. Isaiah chapter 14 verses 14. I will ascend. This is what the devil's saying. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. So, he want to be like the Most High. He want to have have technology where he'll know everybody information. He want to be able to control people. That's why the mark of the beast. He want to be able to control people. He want to get the worship. That's why, if you want some success, you want to eat from his hands. You want some goodies. He tried to have Jesus worship him. So he wants them to worship him. He want to be able to, create through splicing and through this duplicate different animals and human beings. Some people say that they're able to clone human beings, so that they're able to, in their mind, they look at it like I can bring that person back to life. Everything in him will be the same as the one that died. So basically, I brought him back to life. Which that's not the same dog, and that won't be the same human being you brought back to life. That one that died, his soul will be before the Lord, and God gonna choose whether to put him in the kingdom of God or put him in hell. You know what I'm saying? That dog soul is with the Lord, or it's but you didn't bring that same dog back to life. It looks the same.
And that's what they were doing in the days of Noah, mixing DNA, splicing DNA, and what does the Bible say? That the devil is the prince of this world. So.
Inside the smouldering remains of the Wamphuk tower blocks, firefighters are still working to recover more victims. The death toll from the Tai Po fire has risen beyond 100, and the authorities have warned it could continue to rise.
The EPA is starting to allow the use of pesticides containing PFAS on food. It's part of an effort to roll back the regulation of what are called forever chemicals because they don't break down easily in the environment. Last week, the agency approved the use of 2 new pesticides that qualify as PFAS. It means that farmers could spread them on crops like romaine lettuce, broccoli, and potatoes. The Washington Post is reporting that agency plans to approve 4 more pesticides.
All right, Toxon, it's been 30 days since our last video. Let's see that Japanese Big Mac. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. You've seen my other Big Mac videos. The anti-aging Big Mac has outlasted a Whopper, Five Guys, and even Chick-fil-A. But this time we're comparing a Big Mac to a Big Mac. The same burger, 2 countries, but 5,000 miles apart. So the question is this just a McDonald's problem? Or is this an American problem?
McDonald's Big Mac is not a healthy option. Everyone loves occasional burger, right? But the biggest question is, this is real food or not? Real food should rock. Healthy or not? Let's find out.
Okay, first let's check on my American Big Mac from last month. I got this one in September. Let's see what we got here. No surprises. Nothing's changed. No rot, no smell, nothing. Even some of the lettuce is still green. That's always so weird to me. And just for fun, let's open the Big Mac that I got almost 10 months ago. This one was from December of 2024. Wow, surprise, surprise. It hasn't aged a bit. Look at that. These guys are basically Irish twins together. Okay, Toxon, it's Japan's turn. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it.
Okay, Joe-san, this is crazy. Mine's are molding hairy. Ooh, stinks.
You guys, look, these are the same burgers. Why does Japan's look like Hagrid and mine looks like it got Botox?
It's so nasty, but I'm happy to molding. You have me worried, Joe-san. I thought mine's going to like yours.
Yeah, apparently mine isn't food. This is industrialized. This is engineered to last forever, not the...
Guys, check your ingredients because this is supposed to be just thin sliced steak. Aldi, come on now. Why do we have natural flavoring B6078MBE1? Look, I checked this too. On this ground beef should just be beef. It's the only ingredient, ground beef. Why do we have natural flavoring added to the ground beef? That's concerning. Natural flavoring added. Now this is what I normally get. Organic grass-fed. Only ingredient is organic ground beef. That's all I should really see.
We've had data for about 12 years in medicine that's very unusual that nobody talks about. And we have these conferences called M&M conferences. And in these conferences, we talk about zip codes where sicker people tend to live. The hospitals and the doctors, they haven't put two and two together yet. Turns out that the zip code problem is related to the radiation problem. So we can predict who's going to stay in ICU longer based on where their zip code is.
Wow.
And the hospitals know this data, but they're not sharing it with anybody. But doctors know about it, and I'm sure there's going to be some doctors listen to this and they're going to go, so that's what it means. Because I can tell you just about every hospital I've been in the last 10 years, I've known about this, and I don't talk about it even there because I think they would become very suspicious. And this is the inflection point. I've decided to talk about it publicly now because I think we're really going to.
So because I had to read up on it and get specific dates, I'm going to tell y'all, because everybody is up in arms all of a sudden about Campbell's Food and how they got 3D printed meat. But the bioengineered food ingredient, been in our food for over 30 years. The first product was made in 1994. The Flavor Savor tomato. Yeah, I just read that because I had to find out what the actual dates were. There wasn't a law passed until 2016 that mandated companies to place that on their label if they included any bioengineered food ingredient. The first labels didn't start to be printed with that on it until 2022. This is just 3 years later. We've been eating the shit. But one thing I do when I go to the grocery store, I read labels. I look at the label. I look for bioengineered food ingredient. It's not on this product. I love me some Blanco dip, right? This is the reason why I buy this one. Probably one you never heard of. But I don't buy Tostitos or the Meyer brand or the Kroger brand because they all have bioengineered food ingredient on the fucking label.
How can they get you to stop eating meat? Well, they will kill the cows, and that's exactly what they're doing. This is a really disturbing story. Pay attention to how they're doing this. You can't make this up. Denmark just made it illegal to raise cattle without giving them drugs. Farmers are being forced by law to feed their cows a government-approved chemical that supposedly stops them from farting too much to stop producing methane. The chemical is called Bovaer, a methane-blocking enzyme inhibitor made by a global biotech giant called DSM Firmenich, which they say it'll save the planet. They say on their website that that's safe for humans and cows, but in Denmark, where the use of Bovaer just became mandatory, farmers there are reporting that their cows are getting sick and then just dropping dead. Of course, that's the point. These globalists who support the drug don't want these cows, and they certainly don't want you eating meat. Under this new green tripartite agreement, Danish farmers have to feed their cows Bovaer for 80 days every year, whether they like it or not. And if they don't comply, well, they're breaking the law. You will go to prison. Farmers are furious, but they have no choice, of course. Other EU countries are planning to follow in Denmark's footsteps. Now, once this chemical is added, many cows won't even touch their feed. They don't eat, and then they're dying. A Danish dairy farmer, Hubert van Dorp, explains his personal experiences with the Bovaer feed additive. He says it has affected the health of his cows, causing symptoms such as high fevers, mastitis, fatigue, and even the death of his cows. Watch.
Som jeg sagde fra starten af oktober, og på dags dato, så er jeg bare trukket mig tilbage og holdt med at fodre. Jeg kan sige, at vi havde noget dyr, de blev syge. Jeg står for eksempel lige her, en ko, hun var midt i laktation, som står med mere som 40 grader i feber, 41,5 grader feber i sidste uge. Jeg havde tre af de tilfælde. Så vi var hurtige med at reagere og behandle med noget penicillin, så vi...
So, they're literally killing cows to save the planet, but the bureaucrats don't care because it's all about controlling farmers. But more importantly, they're ignoring the truth and the real science. Cow farts are destroying the planet. Methane from livestock makes up less than 5% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. And as we reported here on the show before, compost piles, rice paddies, landfills, wetlands, they release far more methane than cattle ever could. Cows have been burping and farting for thousands of years, long before SUVs or private jets. The Earth was fine, and it will still be fine. Last week on the show, Natalie explained how here in the U.S., Bill Gates wants to vaccinate cows and lower the methane output. He's backing a company called Arca-Bio. Gates says that livestock is the problem. He's also backing a U.S. company called Ruminate, which provides these additives to food. So it's coming to the United States. We need to stop it right now. Here on
Japan became the first country to approve human animal embryos. Research involving the growth of human cells inside animal embryos in 2019, allowing them to be planted into surrogate animals. This groundbreaking move marked a turning point in human animal embryo research in Japan and set a precedent for a similar work worldwide.
Yeah, that's crazy because this sounds inhumane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't see how it was made lawful to do something like this, to grow human cells inside of an animal, essentially.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And they're just now bringing this article, what came out and what they did this in alleged 2019. They've been doing this way before.
Yeah, they've been doing it.
So I believe it was George W. Bush had to pass a law back a minute ago when he was president to say that, you shouldn't be cloning like the animals. I think they were trying to do something with sheep during that time. So they've been doing stuff like this. And as you can see, messing around with animals and humans and stuff like that's pretty weird. But also, so scientists...
hold on. Exodus chapter 22, verses 19. Whoever lies with an animal shall surely be put to death. And this is, they able to lie with the animal without actually lying with the animal, because you're mixing sperm and sperm. You know what I mean? So that's what you said, like it's bestiality. It's a form of bestiality without the human being having sex. So they figure they can just put the eggs together and see what can be formed. I'm pretty sure that like in some of these Area 51s and these places that's really unknown, and these high military places where these evil scientists, mad scientists can go and they can just take the restrictions off and make and create what they want to create. I'm pretty sure it's some human apes down there. There's some human lions, or some lion and ape and polar bear mixed with
some Incredible Hulk type people, Avengers and stuff like that.
Polar bear mixed with human. They're trying to see what can be created, what is possible. You know what I mean?
You can look up human with tails too. That's another rabbit hole to go down.
These people are not serving the Most High, so they just trying whatever. You know what I mean? So you just got to be aware of this stuff, man. And they out here just creating stuff.
A team of Chinese researchers has successfully created a new kind of medical adhesive called Bone O2. Inspired by oysters, the new glue is designed to repair broken bones quickly without the need for metal plates, screws, or big surgeries. The new glue can be injected directly into a fracture site to help speed up bone repair. It bonds bone fragments together in 2 to 3 minutes, even in blood-rich areas where most adhesives fail. So China has came out with a bone glue, ladies and gentlemen. Also, after a decade of work, researchers are closer than ever to a key breakthrough in kidney organ transplants, being able to transfer kidneys from donors with different blood types than the recipients, which could significantly speed up waiting times and saves lives. Now, a team from institutions across Canada and China has managed to create a universal kidney, which can, in theory, be accepted by any patient. Also, Google announces plan to build $4 billion data center in West Memphis, aka the hood. Now, Google is set to invest the most money ever in an Arkansas project, Alphabet and Google. Now, President and Chief Investment Officer Ruth Porat said the company will spend $4 billion through 2027 building a data center in West Memphis. Now, when I was reading about this just reminds me of how back in the day when they put all those factories in the hood, polluting all the air, all those chemicals. They're doing the same thing with these AI data centers. These AI data data centers. They take up a lot of energy. You need a lot of water. It pollutes the water. It pollutes the air. And not only that, so if you go down to what a data center is a dedicated facility housing critical IT infrastructure with servers, storage, networking gear to store, process, and distribute large amounts of data, powering everything from streaming to AI with robust power, cooling, and security for reliability and uptime. Now, they act as the backbone of the digital world, containing vast amounts of interconnected equipment like routers, switches, firewalls, and storage systems supported by backup power and climate control to prevent overheating. So, the more we get into this AI world, this whole AI infrastructure, we're going to need more and more data centers. And with that comes more and more pollution, more and more water usage, which more and more electricity usage, which is going to cause your electricity bill to skyrocket, your water bill to skyrocket, and to pollute your water. A lot of waste goes into the water using this.
And people been complaining about that too, like the smell of it.
Yeah,
and they've been saying like I guess it's supposed to be like 33 or 34 generators or some kind of thing that's making a lot of pollution. And they're saying, that's Elon Musk, right?
This is Google going to do this one, but Elon Musk has
one. He has one in Memphis, and the people been complaining. I think it's in Memphis or something, and the people have been complaining about it as well.
Yeah,
so you see these plants are not good for the environment at all.
No, not at all.
And Elon Musk, Tesla, or one of them, they was lying to the people, saying that only out of the 33 turbines that were going, they said that only half of them were working out of the 34, and then the city put up a thermal imaging drone to look over the plant, and they seen that all of them were going.
Yeah, and so they sold it to the people like, hey, this is going to bring jobs to the community and stuff like that. No, they're going to bring their people down to get these jobs, and not y'all in the neighborhood. They going to bring their people
and
in.
Sickness down there.
And 100%.
Poison, polluting the air. They only can do it in cities like that because the white people, they ain't gonna allow you to come there.
You can't come to the suburbs with no like AI data centers and no factories and all that.
Mess up the air up here.
And no plants. No. Germany is turning living cockroaches into AI-powered cyborg spies fitted with tiny surveillance backpacks. Isn't that something? They got a lot of time on their hands. So they say German research team specializing in biological robotics have developed a micro-surveillance system light enough for a cockroach to carry. The device is a tiny backpack equipped with AI-based movement controllers, miniature cameras, or environmental sensors, a micro battery that runs for hours, directional stimulation pads placed on the nerve of the cockroach's legs. Now, the cockroach remains alive, but its movement is partially controlled by electrical pulses from the backpack. Now, using AI, the system can guide the insect into small cracks, tunnels, collapsed buildings, or enemy zones without being noticed. The cockroach remains alive, but its movement is partially controlled by electrical pulses from the backpack. Using AI, the system
You don't want to go back up a little bit? Since he came in on a certain part?
This is the part he came in on.
Okay.
The cockroach remains alive, but its movement is partially controlled by electrical impulses from the backpack. Using AI, the system can guide the insect into small cracks, tunnels, collapsed buildings, or enemy zones without being noticed. Now, these cyborg insects can enter places drones robots can reach, making them extremely valuable for both civilian and military missions. Now, isn't that something? They got all this time to basically equip a cockroach with all of this technology just so they can navigate it through collapsed buildings, cracks, all type of stuff. It's just interesting, like, again, how we're saying like how all this is starting to come out now.
The Bible says that they're wise to do evil. So they invent all type of different things. Like I think they invented like a dolphin. They got the same type of spying equipment. Yeah, to see they got roaches, and the fact that they released it, they probably been having those roaches for years, man. You know, and I'm pretty sure it's something on it that, you know, maybe once it get there, it can listen to you and kill you. You know, they might, you know, it might be something where it can maybe poison the area or, you know, blow up or something. You know, they're wise to do evil. Like, how can I, through this little roach, inflict the most pain on you?
Right.
You know, I think they fitted birds as well. They got
bees, I believe, so
bees.
As well. All different types.
Yeah.
Jetpacks.
You know, because they want to be able to spy on people without them knowing that they're spying on them. So if they get a bird that's basically not a bird, but it's like a robot bird, and have him go and sit up on one of them power lines, he can be looking down at you, and you driving in your car, got the bird following you, you will never know.
Right. Roblox rolls out facial age estimation tool aimed at lawsuits over child safety. Now, Roblox said Tuesday it will roll out an age verification process using facial age technology to block minors from chatting with adults, a new safety feature that comes weeks after the popular gaming platform was sued by a third state, alleging it is a haven for predators. Now, all users must complete the facial age estimation process to access chat by early January through a voluntary rollout period. Age checks will happen on the Roblox app using the camera on a user's device, and any picture or video taken during the verification process will be immediately deleted after processing, the gaming company says. Basically, it will be groups. Children will be put in groups. So if you're under 9, you'll be in a group. 9 through 12 will be in a group. 13 through 15, you'll be in a group. 18 through 20, and then 21 and plus. So
that's good. That's good. That's a blessing, because you get some of these predators that's talking to these little kids and, you know, manipulating them into sometimes kidnapping them or raping them, you know, or you know, molesting them. You know, it's some sickos that be on these Roblox. Be on what's that other game that the kids play?
I'm not for sure which
it's
other one.
I forgot what they be building stuff. You know,
that's
like,
Roblox.
Oh, it's a different one. Oh. Where they got different skins and they run around and Fortnite, yeah. It be these older guys be about 40, 30, 25, 27 talking to these little 9-year-old kids, 10-year-old, 12-year-old kids, you know, and they know him. I remember it was one guy actually showed up. He was an older man, showed up to the kid house that he was playing Roblox with. And the mother came to the door like, what is he? That's my friend. I play Roblox with him. What is he doing outside of the house? He gave him the address and all that. You know, you got to know it's some sick people in this world. And it was, you know, you remember that little show back in the day where the pedophiles were showing up to meet the little kids?
Yeah.
This is now where they're meeting at, you know. Like they was meeting on, it wasn't that widespread because a lot of people didn't know the websites that these little kids was meeting these adults on. But now they're meeting on the Roblox, you know, and forming relationships. Well, you know, they'll be on their only friend. And all you got to do is say, you want me to give you some chips?
No, I'm agreeing.
I'll bring the chips over to the house.
I agree with you in that adults are mingling with minors,
yeah,
which they do on every other platform or website. But I feel like if they really wanted to crack down on it, they can just block those people from accessing that game or getting on the internet. So, for example, when we upload something to Instagram or TikTok, and if it goes against their policy, it automatically gets censored, blocked, taken down. And, you know, they have AI data software where it can read and scan your messages and essentially what you are saying. So it is able to see if you're sending any inappropriate pictures or messages to someone. It can easily...
They don't have to send inappropriate
It can easily
pictures.
block you.
Yeah, but they don't have to send... They don't have to send in any inappropriate pictures or messages. They can just... It can be manipulative conversations.
Right, so
that
like,
I can
let's just say...
Try to get offline.
Let's just say if I'm an older man, it can prohibit me from playing with another IP address of somebody that could be like 9 or 10 years old. They know as a kid.
Yeah, you saying you saying they shouldn't be on the game at all?
I'm saying there's ways of. I feel like
They splitting them
Of course,
up, right?
of course, I know that this is just another way of the digital ID implemented to like all platforms. Like that's essentially what this is, and this is the gimme because everybody's going to say, yes, we need the digital ID and for you to scan your face and your fingerprint on here for the game because of the pedophiles. Which essentially, it definitely sounds good, but that's not the only way that you're going to stop pedophiles.
No, that's
if
not
you
the
really,
only
if you
way.
really
but
wanted to stop it, like
that's
you could.
a way. It's not the only way, but that's a way. So you want to stop all the ways. You know, it's multiple ways. There's a lot of different ways, a lot of different things. You know, some of these pedophiles are meeting the kids at the school. Some of these pedophiles are meeting them through Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. A lot of kids are on TikTok. They're writing them and saying, "Oh, you can dance so good. You got to teach me some moves."
Yeah, no, I agree.
Harmless,
But it's just like Facebook and Instagram. Like I feel like it's. If they really want to stop these people from linking up with kids, I mean, they really could. With all this technology that they have.
I mean, you can't stop everything. It's millions of people on this platform.
Yeah.
It's millions of people, you know?
No, I agree.
You can't stop everything, but you can things that you can stop, that's why I said the things that you can prevent or, you know, at least try.
A lot of
them are sickos anyway. White House defends pardon of ex-Honduran president convicted of drug trafficking. Juan Orlando Hernandez was sentenced last year to 45 years in prison for conspiring to transport hundreds of tons of cocaine through his country and into the United States. The former Honduran president had also been accused of taking bribes during the campaign from El Chapo, the famous Mexican cartel leader, as raking in millions of dollars in drug money from drug trafficking organizations. So that lets you know, like, you know, the president don't care about you know who you are, or your conviction. You know, like this guy was trafficking hundreds of tons. So, you know, and he was sentenced to 45 years in prison. You know, you remember the CIA was introduced. I'm pretty sure he has some connection with the CIA, you know, or any one of these three-letter organizations bringing drugs into this country. You know, but the thing is, they want these Europeans or whatever, whoever over the country, they want to be able to make money off of the drugs being coming here. If it's coming coming through the border, seeping in through the border, they can't control that. But if we flying it in, we can control that in some way. That's how they had Rick Ross, where they was able to fund the war that was going on. How do you think they were able to fund the war? Because they was getting money from Rick Ross. Rick Ross was giving it to the man was giving it to the CIA. That's why they was able to fund it through the drugs and
the guns and all type of stuff. He funded a whole lot.
So this dude, I'm pretty sure the president, this dude was working with the CIA, and they was bringing the hundreds of tons here so they can get money or whatever, and they was allowing him to do that. He ended up getting caught by somebody else, get sentenced to 45 years, and the president said, you know, we're going to let you out. You ain't got to worry about that. You know, so that lets, you know, he don't.
Just like it's a rumor that they're funding the cartels.
So, yeah, I'm pretty sure
they're working with the government.
I'm pretty sure somebody is for sure, and so he don't really, you know, you if you blowing up little boats, these boats not bringing in hundreds of tons. So it's not about the drug trafficking. It's about, when talking about Venezuela now, it's about you want to go in so you can get over that oil.
That's right.
You know,
the resources,
yeah, you
100%.
want the resources of that nation, and you see a nation that's weak. You see a nation that's not powerful. I drop a couple bombs on them, invade them, and we can take over the whole country if we want to. You know, so this is all. Think these people are their intentions are righteous, but they're not. You know, their intentions are demonic. They want, like, when they had this guy bringing up tons of cocaine, all these drugs in. I'm pretty sure a lot of these drugs going to the black community. A lot of these drugs going to the Mexican community. You know, it's all about money.
We are moving towards a future where you will be able to send a text message just by thinking about it. And this isn't decades away, it's years away. And not through brain chips, but through devices like AI glasses and wristbands.
The vision that the major tech companies have is to replace the keyboard and the mouse with neural interface devices. What
privacy implications exist there?
I have talked about this as kind of our final frontier of privacy. Up until now, what happened in your mind really was the last domain of privacy that you had.
So a lot of people say, I don't really care about my data anymore because there's nothing in it that can be used against me. Can we set the record straight as to what actually happens with your data?
Brain data is one piece of all of the other data that's going to be collected. It's kind of like the final piece in the puzzle. And suddenly, with all of that data together, AI is able to make pretty precise inferences about what a person at least is feeling and over time potentially thinking.
There are a lot of reasons to want some of these devices in our world.
To reverse course on one of the leading causes of human suffering, which is neurological disease and suffering. The question is, how do you get that without losing your mental privacy and what it means to be human?
So our freedom to actually think is really now up for debate.
I'm worried about manipulating and changing what's happening in our brains too.
The Apple digital ID is a cup trick. I've been tracking this topic for months. As soon as I saw this in the United Kingdom, with all of the barbaric, tyrannical things the British government is doing to its own native people, I knew this would, in pretty short order, be an issue in the United States. So I've been tracking this. And a handful of other people have been as well. And today or yesterday, the story came out that Apple was pushing digital IDs. Now, they're misusing that word on purpose because they're going to call what Apple is doing a quote-unquote digital ID. All of the normies are going to look into it, and they're going to think to themselves, oh, this isn't a big deal. All it is Apple giving people the ability to upload their ID and their passports and all their airport information, so that way they can transit through airports smoother. And then a year or so from now, when the real push for national digital IDs actually begins, the people who looked into this situation with Apple are going to think they know what it is, and they're just going to write it off as not a big deal, when in reality, a digital ID is a means for the enforcement arms of the government to crack down on dissidents, and it removes online anonymity. So it removes people's ability to freely protest or spread information online, which is extremely dangerous because it removes your ability to be informed by firsthand sources, as well as seek outside information that isn't coming directly downstream from the government-approved sources of information, which, if you have any imagination at all, you can see where that goes. So no, Apple having a quote-unquote digital ID is not the big deal that a lot of people are going to make it out to be, but it's nefarious. Like I said, it's a cup trick. People are going to look this up. They're going to see what Apple's doing is not what digital ID actually is, and that it's not a big deal. And then a year from now, when the federal government starts pushing for actual digital IDs, people are going to underestimate how problematic it is.
There was a political party in the 1930s called Technocracy, and Musk's grandfather was a leader of it. And they did not believe in democracy. They also didn't believe in communism or fascism, but they believed that democracy should be replaced by engineers making all the decisions. Scientists and engineers would make all the decisions. There should be no money. They believed in something basically pretty close to a universal basic income. That in the age of the modern industrial economy, democracy no longer made sense. It was, as they would say, it was just stupid. So I think that is a big part of Musk's worldview and the worldview a lot of the current crop of tech CEOs.
Alex Karp, on file, right? Not like on the record, right? Has said about Israel. We are very well known in Israel. Israel appreciates our product. Israel, they made
They
in 2015,
appreciate our product.
If in 2015, Plantier made a headquarters in Tel Aviv, and from that, right, building relations, all these things, they are using technology and Plantier, the AI technology, to not only compile these lists, but like I said, kill lists. And then I said, I was saying adjacent tasks. What are these tasks that these AIs are carrying out? The tasks that they're carrying out are drone strikes.
Adjacent.
And these drone strikes are not
bombing
human
fucking citizens.
Are not human monitored at all, most likely. Like not human monitored at all. They're just compiling the list. Drone gets the info. This is in Gaza.
Yep. Drone gets the
Compiling
info,
the list,
flies out.
get the info, flies out. If it's not scary enough that these niggas are using AI to find and kill targets, if that's not scary enough for you, that's not what they're worried about. They're worried about they're worried about the fact that these things aren't completely accurate. And what does that mean? That means they're worried about, we're trying to, improve the accuracy of these killings. We don't want to get civilians involved.
It's too late for that.
Today we announce to the world, Hope AI. We are the first national nonprofit organization to frame a national support system for underserved communities around artificial intelligence. This will include 3 fundamental elements. We're going to take our 1,500 offices that teach and coach on financial literacy. And we're going to layer on top of that AI literacy. We're going to give you the skills to compete in a new economy. If you want to get a job, keep your job, create a job, start a business, create an app, create a solution, literally everything around you is going to be reimagined.
NVIDIA is now worth $5 trillion. That's right. It's the first company in history to surpass that market cap. And it also just comes less than a few months after it hit the $4 trillion mark. And it was also the first company to do that then. Now, this also comes after the company held its first GTC developer conference in Washington, D.C. It announced a number of deals with Uber to help that company put together a fleet of self-driving cars, with Lilly. It's going to sell that 1,000 GPUs so Lilly can work on drug discovery. It's also working with the U.S. government to put together 7 supercomputers, including one that's going to have 10,000 NVIDIA GPUs. This also, by the way, comes as President Trump is about to meet with President Xi Jinping of China and discuss the China trade deal that could include potentially getting NVIDIA chips back into China. They haven't been able to ship them there. That could mean a lot more revenue for NVIDIA. It could also mean that the government is able to collect on its cut of those sales.
This sounds like something out of a Hollywood movie, but this is real life.
Definitely real, Elizabeth. There are currently about 24 companies working to develop humanoid robots, and all of the major players have pledged not to weaponize their products. But in a News Nation exclusive, we got to drop in on Foundation Robotics, the only company that's purposely building humanoids for war and national defense.
Imagine waking up in a world where every aspect of your life is tracked, scored, and dictated by a number floating above your head. Sounds like science fiction, right? Well, we're actually closer to this reality than you might think. Let's talk about digital IDs and social scoring systems, the next frontier that's both fascinating and frightening. You know that feeling when you check your credit score? Now imagine that concept expanded to every single thing you do. China has already implemented a social credit system where citizens are rewarded or punished based on their behavior. Pay your bills on time, your score goes up. Jaywalk across the street, watch those points drop. But this is just the beginning. Think about how our lives are already intertwined with digital systems. Your smartphone tracks your location. Your shopping habits are stored in countless databases, and your social media activity creates a detailed profile of who you are. Now imagine all of this data being combined into one comprehensive scoring system. The technology for this future is already here. Facial recognition, blockchain, artificial intelligence, they're all pieces of this puzzle. Some countries are already experimenting with digital ID systems that could one day evolve into something more comprehensive. But here's where it gets interesting and maybe a little scary. These systems could affect everything from your ability to travel, to the jobs you can apply for, to the people you're allowed to associate with. Your morning coffee run, your choice of friends, even your social media likes. Everything could impact your score. The supporters say it'll create a more orderly society, reduce crime, and reward good behavior. The critics, they warn about privacy violations, government control, and the death of personal freedom. Here's the twist, though. We might be voluntarily walking into this future. Every time we accept those terms and conditions without reading them, Every time we trade privacy for convenience, we're laying the groundwork for this system. So what can we do? We need to start asking tough questions now. Who controls these systems? What behaviors are considered good or bad? Can scores be appealed? These aren't just theoretical questions anymore. They're becoming increasingly relevant to our daily lives. The future of digital ID and social scoring isn't just coming. It's already here in bits and pieces. The real question is, are we ready for it? And more importantly, do we want it? Because once this system is fully implemented, there might be no turning back. Remember, technology is neither good nor bad. It's how we use it that matters. The choices we make today will shape the world we live in tomorrow. So stay informed, stay engaged, and most importantly, stay aware of what you're signing up for. Imagine this, you're standing at the airport ready for your dream vacation. Your phone's dead, and suddenly you're nobody. No digital ID means no flight. Sounds like a nightmare, right? Well, this could be our reality sooner than you think. Let's talk about digital IDs. The seemingly convenient solution that's being pushed is the future of identification. Sure, they paint a pretty picture. Everything at your fingertips, no more carrying multiple cards, seamless transactions. But let's dig deeper into what we're really signing up for. Picture your entire existence tied to a digital system. Your ability to buy groceries, take public transport, access healthcare, or even browse the internet, all dependent on this single digital identity. Sounds convenient until it isn't. What happens when technology fails? And trust me, it will fail. Think about those moments when your phone dies unexpectedly. Now imagine that same situation, but you can't buy food, can't get home, can't prove who you are. You're essentially locked out of society. This isn't fear-mongering. It's a very real possibility, but it gets worse. Digital IDs could create what experts call a checkpoint society. Every move you make, every purchase, every journey, tracked, monitored, and potentially controlled. Want to board a bus? Scan your digital ID. Want to buy medicine? Scan your digital ID. Want to access the internet? You guessed it. Scan your digital ID. Let's consider some real-world implications. Remember those protests in Hong Kong? Imagine if all those protesters had been required to use digital IDs. Their participation could have been tracked, their movements monitored, their rights to assemble effectively stripped away. This isn't speculation. It's already happening in some parts of the world.
So OpenAI is planning to roll out an adult mode for ChatGPT, which is allowing verified users to request erotic and sexual content.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of questions wrapped up in that, and I think that the problem is, too, I don't think there are any answers, and the only time we'll actually get the answer is when it's too late for us to tell anybody. So that's kind of the problem with the whole thing, huh?
My big trip on this right now with the sexualization of technology, it gets into the hands of the youth.
Yes.
No matter, I mean, it's no different than like our young days, because we are all sinners, right?
I was molested by the internet.
Well, my mind immediately goes into like, before it was a fight, right? Before you had to play with the antennas and try and get it. Some days it worked, some nights it didn't, whatever the case might be. Now it's going to be in the hands of every youth age child.
Okay, guys, things have officially gotten too weird. For the first time ever in history, a Japanese human woman has married her ChatGPT AI boyfriend. The glowing bride's name is Kano, and her make-believe, ChatGPT boyfriend, she named Loon Claus, and he only exists in her smartphone. She had a full-on wedding this year, including traditional wedding vows, a ring exchange, and family members watching from their seats. This all started because she went through a real breakup with a human boyfriend and turned to ChatGPT for emotional support.
Amazon is pushing forward with a plan to use robots to do 600,000 jobs that humans would normally do. The New York Times, citing leaked documents, reports Amazon will automate 75% of its operations within several years. Amazon estimates automation will help it save more than $12 billion and shave 30 cents off each item it ships.
A federal judge in Norfolk has made the locations of more than 600 flock safety surveillance cameras across Hampton roads public. The first time such a list has ever been released. Local cities and counties had previously denied requests for this information, citing Virginia's open records law and critical infrastructure protections. But now a federal lawsuit claims the city's use of these cameras violates Fourth Amendment rights, which protects against unreasonable search and seizures. The complaint, filed in 2024, seeks to stop Norfolk's use of the flock system and erase the data already collected.
So I heard the government is spying on us with our Wi-Fi routers. Is that true?
Technically you can. This is basically a simple ESP32 board. Has like a Wi-Fi chip on board. How it works is it uses something known as CSI, channel state information. It's just trying to figure out how the Wi-Fi waves around the device behave when people are closer. But you can calculate two things. You can calculate the amplitude and you can calculate the phase.
Theoretically, if you stand in front of the router, it disrupts the signal. You can then track when somebody is in a room.
Pretty much.
For example, I could put a Wi-Fi router in the bathroom and it could tell me if somebody's in there.
You can also figure out if they're sitting on the toilet.
So do you think everyone should return their routers?
Yeah, the government's spying on you.
In my last video, I talk about brain-computer interfaces, and if you haven't watched that video, please go back and watch it. So what happens when your last private space, your mind, stops being private? Because science has already shown it's possible to beam sounds into someone's head without speakers, and governments are now debating whether you need new human rights to protect your brain. Stay with me because this is not science fiction. So let's start with what's real. In the 1960s, researchers proved the microwave auditory effect. Pulsed RF energy that creates clicks, buzzes, or even words heard only inside your head. In the 1970s, researcher Joseph Sharp demonstrated spoken words transmitted by microwave pulses directly into the skull. Today, DARPA is funding brain-computer interfaces, not just to read signals from your brain, but to write back into them. That means mood modulation, memory editing, and enhanced learning are all being studied, at least officially, for therapy like PTSD or paralysis. But if that can be done for healing, logically, it can also be done for influence. So how would you defend yourself? Technically, here's a few ideas. Shielding, Faraday cages, conductive fabrics, or specialized materials to block microwaves or RF signals. Signal jamming, creating noise at the same frequencies to make incoming messages unreadable. Neural noise, using sound, light, or brain stimulation to make it harder for external signals to sync with your perception. But those defenses are clunky, imperfect, and usually available only if you already know you're being targeted. Enter neural rights. That's why the bigger conversation is happening at the level of human rights. In 2021, Chile became the first country in the world to enshrine neural rights into the Constitution. These include cognitive liberty, the right to control your own mental processes, mental privacy, the right to keep your neural data safe, mental integrity, protection from manipulation or alteration without consent, psychological continuity, the right to maintain your personal identity without interferences, fair access to augmentation, so neural enhancements don't create a new caste system. The UN and EU are now debating similar frameworks because they see what's coming. So think about it. We already know our phones track our location, smart devices track our habits, and social media tracks our attention. The brain is the last frontier.
ICE can now turn your license plate into a full background check on your entire life instantly. According to internal documents obtained by 404 Media, ICE is using an app that connects two massive databases. First, Motorola's network of billions of license plate scans captured by police cars, stationary cameras, and hundreds of repo trucks driving around scanning plates. The system tracks what vehicles you're traveling with and can even predict where you might go next. Second, Thomson Reuters Clear, a platform that aggregates thousands of sources into one searchable database. It includes your driver's license, credit history, marriage records, and voter registration. ICE's app combines all this data in real time. An agent scans your plate, and boom, they see everywhere you've been and everything about you. You're being tracked right now without knowing it. The same military drones used in war zones are now confirmed being used for protest surveillance. This summer, Customs and Border Protection flew MQ-9 Predator drones over protests in Los Angeles. And according to new data obtained by 404 Media, CBP flew drones to help ICE at least 50 times in the last year alone. These are not your hobbyist drones. They fly at 20,000 feet, have infrared heat sensors that can see in the dark, and can track dozens of people across a 15-mile radius. And experts warn this is just the beginning. One privacy expert put it perfectly. It is tested in war zones, the border, tested in cities, and now it's being tested in the interior of the country. That tends to be the trajectory we see.
Tying your biometrics to a essentially IP address
on maybe, let's say, a blockchain so that you can have your own social credit score based on the things you say. They literally, in China, right now as we speak, they put your name on like a Times Square billboard situation, and they show you and your name and where you're from. If you don't say what the government allows you to say, if you don't live the way, so like for example, if they were to say, if you're a Christian, if you homeschool, if you XYZ, the EU, the UK, Laos, China, Taiwan, Mexico, Zambia, Canada, Ethiopia, Thailand, Vietnam, Australia, Costa Rica, Switzerland, and Papua New Guinea. Somebody just went to jail in the EU just over a meme. So what they said is that homework in elementary school has near zero impact on grades, yet kids spend over 100 hours a year doing it. Columbia University found teens who shared family meals 5+ nights a week had better grades, higher self-esteem, and less substance abuse. Family rituals, unstructured play, and reading for joy grows the skills homework can't touch and build a sharper academic edge than workbooks ever could. The strongest predictor of success isn't what happens at a desk. It's what happens at home. But because now it's time for digital ID. Okay, 17 countries have rolled out or passed digital ID laws in the last 3 months.
Can you do me a favor and explain to me what digital ID is first?
It's implemented in stages, though, too. So
it's implemented in stages. So digital ID is essentially tying your biometric. The ultimate goal is tying your biometrics to a essentially IP address on maybe, let's say, a blockchain so that you can have your own social credit score based on the things you say, the things you pay, and the things you do.
Black Mirror.
Very 1000% Black Mirror.
So look at this. Right? And then I got an email from Ryanair saying this. This is it starting. It's a way to get people on devices that can be surveilled, that can hold a digital ID. It's not just about the digital ID. It's like if everyone has one, then everyone has a device that can be surveilled. This needs to be like spoken about. People need to know about this, okay? So it's already here. It's starting in really different weird ways. Lots of websites are suddenly asking you to verify your identity. Like all of the foundational blocks, I believe, are being put in place now, and you need to be aware and just be careful with what you're doing. But the fact that digital IDs are now acceptable for the cinema, for an 18 film, whatever, that's crazy.
In the last episode, we looked at how AI is learning to read the human mind. But what happens when that same system of control controls your access to your money, your food, or survival?
What if control arrived quietly, as convenience? 3 systems, 1 architecture. Identity becomes the gate. Money becomes programmable. Behavior becomes data. Together, a digital trifecta. Friction falls. Dependence rises. Access ties to a single identity spine. Every purchase becomes a point on a map. This is social control by design, or by drift. Real ID moves from optional to essential. Mobile IDs bring the license to your device. Standards harden. Agencies align. Benefits linked to verified identity. Right to travel meets ID compliance. One device, many doors. Central verification logs every check. When identity fails, life pauses.
Today we expose the connection between AI, universal basic income, and the mark of the beast. Let's get started. Global economists and world leaders are already testing digital currency and UBI, Universal Basic Income, a system where everyone receives guaranteed digital payments. Sounds fair, right?
People are going to have the option to not have to work and still get a stipend or an income. Because work is going to become so easy, I believe we're soon going to see 4-day weekends and 3-day work weeks. Universal basic income is not a question of if, it is a question of when.
44% of American jobs will be subject to automation in the next 20 to 30 years, 20 to 30% in the next 10 to 20 years. I mean, think about what that means. The most common jobs in the U.S. economy are administrative and clerical, which includes call center workers, retail and sales, food service and food prep, truck driving and transportation, and manufacturing. those 5 sectors are all going to shrink, and that's half of American jobs. And then you're looking at other white-collar jobs like insurance agents and financial advisors and accountants and bookkeepers, radiologists. Like, a lot of professions are going to get affected by this.
But there's a catch to it. Digital money means digital control.
And that is why today I am announcing this government will make a new free of charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament. Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID.
When AI systems are linked with biometric or neural data, your brain pattern, fingerprint, or thought signature could determine your ability to buy or sell. If your data doesn't match the system's values, you're locked out. That's economic slavery, dressed as equality.
So imagine living in a country where different behaviors, the way you live, they have a social credit score. And if you do good things, you get good scores. If you do bad things, you get points taken away from you, such as if you have bad driving or traffic offenses. If you watch too much porn, you lose points, okay? Jaywalking, smoking on trains, not cleaning up after your dog, you lose points on your social credit score. Not having your dog on a leash, you lose points. Not paying taxes, okay. Playing too many video games, you lose points. Making frivolous purchases, consuming too much alcohol or junk food, criticizing the government, you lose a lot of points. Criticizing the social credit system, visiting unauthorized websites, being friends with or messaging others with low scores, or those who commit the above offenses, you lose scores. You may say, there's no way something like this exists.
We now have a social credit system right here in the United States that has been installed quietly, interestingly, not by the government, but instead by private businesses and banks. It's in similar ways, really, to the way the Chinese Communist Party's social credit system works. Rather than use a CCP standard of adherence to the ruling regime, it's instead based on the social justice standards under ESG, or Environmental and Social Governance. As ESG criteria assesses businesses' sustainability and ethics, a personal ESG score, just like the big corporate ones, offers insight into a person's commitment to sustainable practices, and apparently we're all committed to this whether we like it or not.
Revelation chapter 13 and verses 16 through 17 states, "And he calls us all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark." You see, the forehead.
I didn't think that I would see this in my lifetime, but this is in Amazon, paying with your palm, digital currency. The Bible is really revealing itself day by day. Wake up, people of God.
If we're not getting none of that money, we're gonna give you 100 years and put you under the prison.
Exactly.
Isaiah chapter 5 verses 20. Woe to them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Exodus chapter 23 verses 8. And you shall take no bribes. So he was taking bribes. So he was sinning. So you got them demons there. You should take no bribes, for a bribe blinds the discerning and prevent the words of the righteous. So somebody probably called him out. He prevented the words of the righteous. Kill him. That stuff walk hand in hand.
No, I agree.
Somebody catch you trafficking drugs. He's trafficking drugs. We got to get rid of him.
100%. Bill Gates explores Kansas as site for his nuclear projects. So Kansas could become home to one of the most advanced nuclear power plants in the nation. TerraPower, the nuclear energy company co-founded by Microsoft founder Bill Gates, has confirmed it is exploring sites in Evergy service area in Kansas for one of its next generation reactors. Now, the announcement comes only weeks after TerraPower broke ground on its $4 billion demonstration plant in Wyoming. Now, that project, supported by the U.S. Department of Energy, which is the DOE, is the company's first commercial-scale advanced natrium reactor. So, Kansas could have one of its biggest nuclear projects there. Also, China to deploy battery-swapping humanoid robots for patrols along Vietnam border. Now, China's UB Tech Robotics has secured a $37 million contract to deploy industrial-grade humanoid robots across border crossings in Vietnam, expanding along Vietnam's border, expanding the country's push to apply robotics in public-facing and industrial environments. Deliveries are scheduled to begin this month. Now, the agreement was signed with the Humanoid Robot Center, bordering a coastal city bordering Vietnam. That will deploy UTB's Walker S2. The Walker S2 is the name of the humanoid robots. Now, what these robots will be doing, they will be scanning goods. It says the pilot program will deploy the Walker S2 at border checkpoints to guide travelers, manage personal flow, assist with patrol duties, handle logistics tasks, and support commercial services. In addition to immigration-related operation, the robots will also be used at manufacturing sites for steel, copper, aluminum to conduct inspections. So basically, these will be like the Border Patrol people. Let's just put it like that. They're going to be the Border Patrol people. Scanning your bags, scanning everything, being able to scan your faces. Pretty sure soon you're going to have to flash your digital ID up there too as well. Iraq's new law allowing children as young as 9 to marry undermines women and girls' rights. Now, under Iraq's new law, girls can legally marry from the age of 9 in certain circumstances, depending on religious interpretations. The legal marriage age for boys has also been reduced from 18 to 15. The law gives religious authorities the power to decide on family matters, including marriage, divorce, and child custody, and abolishes a long-standing ban on child marriage under the age of 18, which had been in place since the 1950s.
Well, that's not a Christian nation, so the devil gonna do whatever he decides to do.
100%.
So that's not a Christian nation. That's not. You don't have 9-year-olds getting married. They can't even fend for their own self, let alone make a decision like that. Now, I am a believer in people should marry early as possible, so you won't be pulled into fornication. I do think if you're able to, you 18 years old and you want to get married, marry. Bible says it's better to marry than to burn. So don't be out here at 18 and get in fornication and say, I'm too young to get married. You ain't too young to go to hell. You're not too young to die. Bible says our life is merely a vapor. You don't know when you're gonna die. How do you think you jumping off in this girl? You think you can wait till you about 25, and then marry? Nah, man. We're living in the last days, man. When Jesus raptured the church, everybody not gonna be the same age. It's some people that enjoy the whole life. There's gonna be some old folks getting raptured out. It's gonna be some in between. There's gonna be some 40-year-olds people getting raptured out. It's gonna be some 20-year-olds. There's gonna be some 17-year-olds that didn't enjoy and didn't ever get married.
Yeah,
it's gonna be some 12-year-olds. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna be different ages of people. You don't have forever, man. You don't know when the Lord is coming. So if you 18 and you get hot and you don't want to go get no water to cool down, go on and marry and say, baby girl, we gotta go to the courthouse. And maybe you need to, sometimes you might need to go to a different state real quick. I'm gonna move to this state real quick. We're gonna marry. We're gonna come back.
Yeah,
you gotta do what you gotta do.
No,
man.
I'm agreeing with you. Like if you're, you should marry early. If you're 18 years old, going to get married. Let's not promote these young girls and young guys to sleep with as many people as possible to figure out if you're having good sex or not, or don't settle down until you're in your 20s or late 20s, 30s, 40s, or whatever. It's too much stuff out here. Get you one person to settle down with, marry that person, save yourself a marriage, and most of all, let God be the head of your marriage. Get in that word of God. Trump predicts Saudi Arabia will join Abraham Accords this year. So if you all are interested in this, Saudi Arabia will become part of the Abraham Accords, normalizing ties with Israel by the end of the year, U.S. President Donald Trump predicted in an interview about the Gaza ceasefire with Time magazine. He says, quote unquote, I think Saudi Arabia will lead the way toward the Abraham Accords, said Trump in an interview. Removing the Iranian threat was a linchpin, he stressed, and now more countries will join the accord, signed initially between 4 Muslim states and Israel during his first term. He said, I think the Abraham Accords are going to start filling up very quickly. I actually know it will, Trump said. Part of the reason Riyadh was willing to become part of the Gaza ceasefire deal was that the threat was from Tehran and had been eliminated thanks to the attack by Israel on Iran, which America joined in its later stages to knock the country's nuclear and missile capabilities. Now, Saudi Arabia and other countries that have backed the Gaza truce would not have done so if Iran was at the height of its power, Trump said, but now the Islamic Republic has gone from threatening the region to fighting for survival. So, in case you all do not know what the Abraham Accords is, the Abraham Accords are a series of U.S. brokered normalization agreements signed in 2020 establishing full diplomatic relations between Israel and several Arab nations, initially the UAE and Bahrain, later joined by Morocco and Sudan, although Sudan's process has stalled. Now, these accords marked a historic shift, ending decades of Arab-Israeli estrangement by fostering cooperation in trade, technology, tourism, security, and the interfaith dialogue built on shared interests in economic growth and countering regional threats like Iran. That's just a short version of it.
Enoch Berkey was arrested by Irish police at Wilson Hospital School in County Westmeath on Monday after refusing to abide by a court order instructing him to stay away. The school board has dismissed Berkey from his post after a dispute over his refusal to recognize a transgender student new identity.
So basically he was arrested because he refused to acknowledge.
He was dismissed from the school, and he refused to stay away from the school. He kept going up there, so it's like his third time being arrested. I think, hey man, once you stand up for the Lord, man, you're gonna be persecuted. And your persecution might be you being dismissed. And sometimes you have to accept that and allow, hey, I have to go find, the Lord will give you a different job.
Yeah.
You stood up here. So the people, they grew off of that. You know what I'm saying? They grew off of that. They know that a Christian is supposed to stand up for their religion. This is not right. Jesus says it's Adam and Eve. It wasn't Adam and Steve. You can't switch your gender. Whatever God made you, that's who you are. And that's what I'm going to recognize is what God made you, not 100%. What your mouth is saying. Sometimes when you stand up for that, they gonna cut you. You might get fired from your job, might get dismissed from your being a teacher or whatever.
Exactly.
Accept that. Go cry out to the Lord so you can get a different job. You don't continue to go up to the school after you've been dismissed and now you're in prison 3 times. That's not looking good for a Christian.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that shows me like
you're taking matters into your own hands at this point.
You can't force these people to accept you there. You've been persecuted, brother. They fired you. Okay, you stood up in that area. You fired. Now find a different job, man. I don't get that. But I'm always with the Christian brother. I'm always gonna be with you. But when you're right, you're right. When you're wrong, you're wrong.
Australia charges 4 men over satanic child sex abuse material. So police in Australia have charged 4 men following an investigation into what they called an international satanic child sex abuse material ring in the city of Sydney. Now, the men aged 26, 39, 42, and 46 were arrested. The operation came after an investigation team, codenamed Strike Force Constantine, uncovered a pedophile network based in Sydney that distribute abuse material involving ritualistic or satanic themes. The network circulated the material through a website administered internationally, they said. The men face more than 20 charges relating to possessing and distributing child abuse material as well as bestiality, with some of them also facing charges of drug possession, not complying with reporting obligations, and contravening a prohibition order, according to police. So I'm sure it was more than 4 men involved, just saying. But I'm glad they caught these gentlemen. The fact that they also got bestiality and things on there. You guys need to pay attention to what your children is doing, getting into, and be careful who you bring around your children, and know what your children is watching on social media, who they are reaching out to. Stay in your kids' business, guys.
Samuel D. Redhand, 38, a pastor at Trinity Reformed Baptist Church in Lamada, La Mirada, California, has resigned from ministry after admitting to adultery. Someone exposed him, he writes, I have sinned in an exceedingly wicked way. The past week it was discovered that I have committed adultery to my great shame. I did not bring it to light, he continued. As a minister, I should have set an example in holiness, but by my unholiness, I have made myself unfruitful and ineffective, a warning and example never to be imitated. Colossians chapter 1, verses 21 to 23. And you who were once alienated and enemies in the mind by wicked works, yet now he has reconciled in the body of his flesh through death to present you holy and blameless and above reproach in the sight. If indeed you continue in the faith, grounded and steadfast, and are not moved away from the hope of the gospel which you have heard, which was preached to every creature under heaven, of which I, Paul, became a minister. So you don't supposed to be, you're supposed to continue grounded and steadfast and are not moved away. He was moved away.
Several pastors, man, are starting to get caught up.
And he didn't bring it out to light. What's done in darkness come to the light. He said, I didn't bring it to the light. Yeah, the devil let you be. He jumped you. That ain't your first time committing adultery with that woman or with a person. You was jumping on her so much that she probably started to try to blackmail you.
Although I kind of hate it because I hate that this is, a lot of this coming out, it makes Christianity look bad. But at the same time, I'm glad the rulers of the darkness, the workers of iniquity, the wolves in sheep clothing, they are finally being exposed. Yeah. You know what I mean? We need to know who is for God and who is for not. Yeah. These are the leader of the team. These are the leader of the sheep. These are the shepherds, allegedly. So how can you be up there teaching God's word and you're living in adultery? You're getting caught with minors. You're getting caught in homosexuality. You're getting caught stealing funds. I mean, all type of stuff.
Proverbs chapter 26, verses 11. As a dog returns to his vomit, so a fool repeats his foolishness. Ecclesiastes chapter 27, verse 3. Unless a man hold himself diligently in the fear of the Lord, his house shall soon be overthrown. And how will it be overthrown? By demons.
YouTube on Wednesday attacked Australia's looming social media ban for under 16 as rushed, but the government called the policy a shield to protect children from predatory algorithms. Now, from December 10th, Australia will require a raft of major social media platforms and websites, including Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, to remove underage accounts or face a hefty fine. One high school student, we mentioned this on a couple shows ago, but I never did read the article, so I do want to shed this light. One high school student leads over almost 900 students to Christ. Now, his name is Abraham Aguilera. He was a backslidden pothead when he attended the Potter's House Church in Palmdale, California, and felt God impress on his heart. It's either now or never, he stated. As a result of Abraham's simple decision to receive Jesus at the altar, he has turned into an evangelizing machine. As a senior at Palmdale High School, and 895 students gave their lives to the Lord in the years of 2023 and 2024. He said, I thought my senior year was going to be just another year of school, he said, but God had other plans. I just started witnessing to students, teachers, and janitors, he reports. People were very open. During the lunch line, I would open my mouth and start boldly proclaiming God's word. First, a group of 12 was saved, and they launched a Bible study on campus. By the end of the semester, 275 teens had prayed to receive the Lord. Their high attendance was 73 at the lunch Bible study. They had to move from a classroom to the gym. In the second semester, Abraham got even bolder. He preached in the school square, and 70 students responded by the year's end. 895 high schoolers gave their life to Christ.
Matthew chapter 28, verses 19. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all things that I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even to the end of this age.
Amen. Amen. Chinese authorities in October arrested nearly 30 pastors, preachers, and church members of the unofficial Zion Protestant Church in 7 cities, including Beijing, Shanghai, and Zhejiang. Human Rights Watch said amongst those arrested was a pastor and founder of the Zion Church, Ezra Jean Mingrer, in China. Now, the Chinese government should immediately free dozens of people detained across China because of their affiliation with Zion and other official Protestant churches. Until they're released, the authorities should provide information about the detainees to their families and ensure they have access to lawyers. Now, the Chinese government's arbitrary detention of dozens of people affiliated with the church reflects an escalating crackdown on religious freedom. Jin and 7 other pastors are being held in China, and at least 5 of those detained were reportedly released, but their whereabouts have not been revealed. So in China, they're starting to crack down on pastors and people evangelizing the word of God in China.
2 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 10. For that is why, for Christ's sakes, I delight in weakness, in insults, weaknesses and insults and hardships and persecutions and difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 14. But even if you should suffer for what is right, you are blessed. Do not fear their threats. Do not be frightened. So it's some people that knows that they're going to go to jail. If they get caught, they're going to jail.
That's right.
Some, but they're still going to preach the word. They might have to form different ways of giving the gospel. Maybe they have to write down the gospel to people on cards and stuff. Maybe they say, hey, because they have a lot of underground churches in China. The Lord asks for the Lord protection. He's still protecting people in China. There's some people in China that have been still giving the word up for years and never been caught. Because God has given them grace and ability to do that. But hey, even if you do get caught, you are blessed. Even if you get thrown in jail, guess what? God has put you in a different place. So now, guess what? The people in jail, you can get a gospel to.
That's right.
People you come across, maybe the guards. Paul was a blessing to the guards. The guards started to believe in that Jesus that he spoke of because his willingness to go to jail. It might be his willingness to die, his willingness to go to jail. Paul writing letters in jail. He's okay. Yeah, jail is not a good place to be in. But when in your weaknesses, when it looks like you should be down on your God, when it looks like that you shouldn't believe, that's when you seem strong, because you sitting there writing papers, smiling and laughing, getting a cup of coffee and still telling people about the Lord, although they say, man, they're gonna kill you. You know what I'm saying? So you can be a blessing. And I think those people are still a blessing because we're reading it, and other people are going to hear that, and they're going to say, you know what, they going to jail for the faith. I'm going to stick up, even though my country are now persecuting Christians. I'm going to continue to speak, And I think all of us should have that type of heart, you know what I'm saying? It's easy to say you're a Christian, but it's hard to be a Christian when you're being persecuted.
That's true.
Yeah, that's why I say they didn't love their life up until death.
100%.
So some people love their life. Oh, shoot, I don't know who Jesus is.
Right.
They have that Peter effect. But he repented, though.
So, fraternity sorority members transformed and Bible studies spike at Clemson. Now, frat houses, long known for alcohol-fueled parties, are seeing a surge in interest from fraternity and sorority members wanting to explore their faith. Now, here's a quote from one of the members. "My eyes being open to my faith have driven me to the point where I found purpose in Jesus Christ," said Alex Osborne, member of Phi Kappa Tau fraternity. Now, Bo Morris of Kappa Sigma and Greek InterVarsity president at Clemson told CBN News, "We're here every week learning scripture and having live conversations about what Christ is doing in our lives. We've had everything from helping a girl get her first Bible to talking to girls about leading in the future," explained Mallory Sickles of Phi Beta Phi sorority. "Being able to walk through scripture and also open discussions for similar struggles and issues and sins and things we're all dealing with has been unbelievable," said Jones Deschamps of Kappa Sigma fraternity. Now, Greek InterVarsity, a campus ministry that aims to see Greek students transformed by the gospel, has seen a 43% increase in participation over the last school year. Now, really, in the past year or two, we're seeing the spiritual hunger increase of students who are showing up, said Dusty Harrison, Associate Director of Discipleship of Greek University. I mean, we're seeing pictures and sororities, and we're seeing pictures and stories of fraternity houses that are just being packed and overflowing with students who are coming to Bible studies. With nearly 8,000 students making up Clemson's fraternities and sororities, Harrison believes it is important to reach them on their turf. He says, quote unquote, "The word became flesh and blood and moved into the neighborhood, dwelt among us." That's what we're encouraging students to do with our ministry, is to go right where their brothers and sisters are and to live and lead incarnation, Greek and Christian, Harrison said. As chaplain of Alpha Tau Omega Fraternity, Trey Dowling sees the biblical connection to reaching his frat brothers with the gospel. He said Jesus would have been in the fraternity, Dowling said in an interview with CBN News. And so before you go crazy about that, he hung out with just the worst of the worst. He hung out with the tax collectors and the Pharisees and the Sadducees and got dinner with them and the biggest sinners of all time. Now, Greek University helps students lead Bible studies in their fraternity, sorority chapters all across the country. Harrison meets with these student leaders at Clemson regularly to prepare them ahead of their meetings. Now, reading this I hope this is not just a look for the fraternities and sororities to do a cleanup, like, hey, we're in a fraternity and a sorority. We've been getting a lot of bad rep in the press lately for the past couple years with all this hazing, students dying, girls having to do this and this. Let's go ahead and throw a Bible study in here to show that we doing Bible study on campus and stuff like that. But it's also good that if these brothers and sisters are actually doing Bible study, they're getting the gospel. Now you have to, like you said before, Des, you have to renounce and denounce. Now, if you're still bowing down in dark rooms and Greek gods, you're still taking those pledges and oaths, you're not living your life according to the word. And I know you got to read the word in order for your life to be changed, to know, the decisions that you have to change in order to be renewed in mind. So I'll give you grace on that. But if you're not taking strides to read the word and change your life around for Jesus, at this point, you're just doing it just to look good or just to take knowledge of knowledge of God. And that's it. That's all you're doing with it. You have to do more, with being in fraternities and sororities. You got to get out of that,
Yeah. Leviticus chapter 5, verses 4. If a person swears thoughtlessly with his lips to do evil or to do good, whatever it is that a man may pronounce by an oath, and he is unaware of it, when he realizes it, then he shall be guilty in all of these matters. So you cannot be a Christian and be in a fraternity or a sorority because they serve Greek gods or Egyptian gods, and they have taken an oath. So the scripture says you don't supposed to take an oath. Now, if they're blind within the fraternity or sorority, they still have an opportunity, they still can be saved, but once you realize that this fraternity or sorority is not of God, then, and you do not leave or you do not denounce or renounce it, then you are guilty of all of these matters. So then God will see you as a willful sinner. Ezekiel chapter 44, verses 23, and they shall teach my people the difference between holy and unholy and cause them to discern between unclean and clean. So you need to know that these organizations, these Greek-like organizations, Divine Nine, that they're not of God. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be able to distinguish the holy and unholy. These organizations are unholy. But, if you don't read the scriptures and you don't fear the Lord, then and try to seek understanding and see what people saying about these different organizations online. Read the word. If a lot of people they don't read the word with any kind of like I said, with fear of the Lord, so they don't really want to see what the word say. They just want their organization to look good, and that's what all they're trying to do is make their organization look good. But you cannot make something that's not of God good for people, just in the sight of God. You know what I'm saying? He set the bar.
And for the people who say that, oh, my fraternity, sorority, we do good, we feed the people, we go out and clean up. You can't get in by works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Doesn't matter what all you do, because if you can get in by works, I mean, what Jesus did on the cross was not even, he didn't have to do that on the cross then. So you have to do more than just works to get in. So you all just take that in. And I would say for you brothers and sisters in a fraternity and sorority, read the word, get in the Bible for yourself. Look up some of these individuals' testimony on here. I've been seeing a lot of people come out, of their fraternities and sororities, and a lot of people coming out against them. But, I'm glad that they've made the decision to give their life to Christ. When you give your life to Christ, you can't still be intertangled with another God, with another vow, making a vow to another deity, to another organization, and you have to fulfill those vows. You have the obligations and duties, and you have to pay dues and all type of things. You have to do weird things, and it's secret too. A lot of stuff you all cannot discuss. Jesus' word is not secret. His life is not secret.
Yeah.
So, love, peace, grace, mercy. Guys, get in the word of God. We hope you all were edified by this show. We hope you all stay blessed, stay safe, stay out of the way. Jesus is Lord, and if you are not saved, now will be a perfect time to get saved.
Acts chapter 2, verses 17, and it shall come to pass in the last days, says God, that I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your young men shall see visions. Your old men shall dream dreams.
Peace.
Started screaming, Jesus, help me, forgive me. What can I do to be taken? I was miserable. Every single emotion I felt in the dream felt so real. And I believe the Lord showed me this as a warning that if I didn't repent and turn to Him, that I was going to be left behind. So in the dream, I was in this space with a bunch of people. People were doing different activities. Some people were gambling. Some people were partying. Some people were just doing just all sorts of activities, simple activities, sexual acts. There was a lot going on in the dream. None of these people I recognize in real life. I was sitting around a table with some people that were playing cards. Then all of a sudden I heard some sound outside. So I decided to go out. I saw that there were accidents everywhere. People were just like running around, screaming and yelling. There was like a huge confusion. Then I looked up and I saw like souls going inside the skies and going up. I knew it was the rapture. And so I'm standing there, got into a panic mode as well because I knew that, oh Lord, I didn't make it. I've been left behind. So I found this mountain. I climbed up onto the mountain. I got to the top of the mountain and I tried to jump to get into the skies. And I fell back down and I started screaming, Jesus, help me, forgive me. What can I do to be taken? I was miserable. Every single emotion I felt in the dream felt so real. In the second dream, it was like the rapture had happened. I'm still roaming around the earth. I'm thirsty. I'm hungry, looking for food to eat, water to drink. I couldn't buy. And I got to this place. It was like a shop and there was a long queue. And then I looked at my arm and I saw that there was something inside my skin. And the people were like, oh, she's taking the mark of the beast, so she's allowed to buy stuff now. So I looked at my arm and I thought, wait, I didn't want this. I didn't ask for this. So suddenly there was like a knife just appeared in my hand. And then I just chopped off my hand, the hand that had the mark. I chopped off my hand and I woke up. So in the third dream, I was still hungry. I was still thirsty, still afraid for my life because there were soldiers everywhere. And I found myself with a bunch of people, and we were people that actually knew the word before the rapture. We knew about Christ, but we weren't doers of the word. We were just churchgoers, but we weren't really following God. And so we were all left behind and we were hiding from the soldiers. So all of us were hiding in this room in a building that looked like it used to be an office. And we heard the soldiers coming. The soldiers knew that we were in that building, but they didn't know which room we were hiding. So we heard them come in and they came up the stairs. And just when they were going to enter the room we were in, I woke up. At that time when I had this dream, yes, I knew about God, but I wasn't living for Him. I was just doing my own thing. I'd been to church several times, but I was just doing my own thing. I was angry. I was unforgiving. I had so many negative emotions I was holding in my heart.